invite you to stand up and clap your hands just like you're doing and affirm this song with us. Such a beautiful day here at Unity of Savannah. We're so grateful that you came to celebrate with us this morning. And what we're going to do is give you a couple of minutes now to say hello to your neighbor. Make sure if you see somebody you don't know, you greet them and make them feel right at home, because everybody is welcome and right at home here.
joy that I have.
The world didn't give it to me.
This joy that I have.
The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away.
It's the joy that counts. This peace that I have.
The world didn't give it to me.
This peace that I have.
The world didn't give it to me.
I said this peace that I have.
The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away.
This love that I have.
This love
That I have.
well, the world didn't give it to me.
This love that I have.
The world didn't give it to me.
This love that I have.
The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world
Come on now.
can't take it away.
World did you give it?
I said the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away.
I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care who you love. I'm here to love you anyway. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care what color you are. I'm here to love you with all of my might. 'Cause you are my sister. You are my brother. You are a part of me. Let's face it, you are my family. I don't care if you're thin. I don't care if you're fat. I don't care how much you eat. My love is so much stronger than that. I don't care if you're rich. I don't care if you're poor. I don't care how much money you got. Loving you is what I'm looking for. 'Cause you are my sister. You are my brother. You are a part of me. Let's face it, you are my family. There's no difference between you and me. And this as far as I can see. No separation, alienation. We are one. Come on, come on. Good morning. Welcome home, family. Tell somebody, welcome home. Welcome home. I'm Reverend Dale Worley. This is Unity of Savannah. We are a center for spiritual awakening where we recognize God as what? Life, love, and the ground of all being. And we celebrate God by living fully, loving lavishly, and being all that we can be. Tell someone, you are loved lavishly. Let's join together and use some of that love to affirm our vision and mission statements. Our vision, centered in God's love, we inspire universal transformation, one heart at a time. And our mission, we are an inclusive spiritual community, serving others with love, joy, and truth. And if you're serving as a prayer chaplain today, would you please stand? Our prayer chaplains are here to hold sacred space with us, to listen lovingly to our prayer intentions, to pray affirmatively and from the heart, and to hold in confidence what is shared. If you would like a prayer after the service today, one of our prayer chaplains is available to serve you. And thank you for your service, chaplains. We appreciate it. And I want to remind you that our prayer box is in the back corner of the room over here. I invite you to make use of it at any time during the service that you feel led. Please have a seat by the little table, write your prayer intention on the slips provided, place it in the box, and we'll be glad to pray with you for 30 days. And then we take all of our prayer requests and we send them to Silent Unity, and they pray with us for 30 days as well. So happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. You know, I think it's safe to say that everybody has a father. And in some way, we all use our father energy that we have to take care of each other, yes? Because we have a father-mother presence that is within us. Everybody does. Tell somebody, you have a father-mother within you. Some of y'all are like, no, I don't. But we're here to affirm the truth with you that every person has sacred worth, that every person is worthy of respect and dignity, because everybody is the light of God, yes? And so we honor that Father presence this morning with our daily word, which is blessing for fathers.
Sunday, June 16th, Blessings for Fathers. I honor all father figures in my prayers. Today is an opportunity to recognize and honor the fatherly influences in my life. Whether their role as a parent, mentor, teacher, or coach, their encouragement and guidance gave me the gift of believing in myself. My prayers also include fathers and stepfathers who are new to the role, learning the importance, dedication, and patience it takes. I bless the role models who are helping to build life skills and live by example. Whether changing a diaper, telling a story, attending school functions, or teaching how to ride a bike, at the heart of all that matters is love. God's presence is active in their lives. I pray they live in this awareness and enjoy the experience of watching children discover who they are and what they are capable of achieving. If you'll repeat after me. I honor all father figures in my prayers.
And so let us take a moment to join together in prayer to honor those people who have been father figures in our lives. Breathe into this moment and bring to your mind, your consciousness, picture of that person who brought you this father energy, this loving, protecting, nurturing energy. It may have been your biological father. Perhaps it was a teacher, an uncle, a coach, someone in your life that was that father figure for you. If you have that, see them now bathed in this light of prayer. Whether they're still on this planet or not, we're still all connected. Send them your love and blessing, our love and blessing, as we join in prayer to bless the fathers. of your Lord is in this place. Surely, the very presence of Spirit resides within you. So as you relax, sit back, come to Spirit. Come to your Father. Come with a knowing that your Father made a covenant with you when you came into the universe. What is that covenant? I will always protect you, love you, care for you, be there for you. So as you come to that very clear understanding, you can sit back, loosen, let go of any cares, any worries, any tribulations. You can come to know and know that you know that God made a covenant with you. Spirit loves you. And as you allow that love to take over, you loosen your facial expression, unclench your teeth, lower your shoulders, feel your arms as they become limp. Your fingers are no longer holding anything. Your stomach muscles are relaxed. The groin, the thighs, the knees are all tense free. As you feel the back of the legs loosen its grip
your understanding that God has made a covenant with you, that as your Father, He will always, always be there to protect you, love you, cherishes you, just as you are. And you will rest in that knowing for the moment.
So much has went unspoken along the way. Hearts have healed and hearts have broken in the pain of yesterday. Gone are the shadows, they vanished in the light. Let your heart remember, let your soul take flight, and let bygones be bygones. Trouble be long gone, and if I never told you how I feel about you, I'm telling you now. last breath, I know I'd be surrounded by joy and happiness. So let bygones be bygones, and trouble be long gone. And if I never told you how I feel about you, I'm telling you now. And let bygones be bygones, trouble be long gone. And if I never told you how I feel about you, I'm telling you now.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. That song pretty much says everything that I wanted to say today. Everything else is just commentary, really. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. It reminds me of a story I heard about a student minister who was going to school, ministerial school at Unity Village. And there's a little town in Kansas, a little college town west of Kansas, Unity Village, Kansas City in Kansas, where they didn't have a minister, and so they would hire the ministerial students to come and give the talks on Sunday. So this one new guy, it was his first time speaking anywhere, and he got hired to come to the little church and give the Sunday message. And when he got there, there was only one person there. There was an old farmer-looking guy, had overalls on and looked like, he spent a lot of time outdoors. And so the guy thought about it a minute, and he goes, I can choose to focus on what I don't have, or I can choose to focus on this one fella right here. So he got up and gave what he thought was the best talk of his life. He pulled out all the stops. He was working all the principles. He was telling stories. He was funny. He was witty. He was clever. He was on a roll. He was feeling good about it. So after the talk, the service was over, he goes up to the man and he goes, "So, what did you think?" And the guy said, "Well, if I load up my truck with hay and I drive out to the middle of the field and only one cow shows up, I usually don't unload the whole truck." So I don't want to say too much this morning that we haven't already said in prayer and music. But not only is it Father's Day, and I'm grateful that I healed the relationship with my father, and I'm also a dad. I have a son named Jason. We have a really great relationship, for which I'm very grateful. So I'm celebrating the father masculine energy with you this morning. That's within all of us, by the way, no matter what the outside looks like. But I also wanted to talk about it's Pride Month as well. June is the month in America where a lot of cities celebrate gay pride. And, I don't want to focus on separation or apartness, because we're all one, yes. We're all living Christ on the inside. But I've given this a lot of thought. I've been working with a book called Dare to Believe that was written by Brene Brown. Does anybody know Brene Brown? She's done a lot of work with guilt and shame, being willing to be vulnerable and authentic. And in her latest book, she talks about the willingness to rumble with vulnerability. And rumble like that was in the movie West Side Story. If anybody saw that, like, we're going to rumble tonight, right? So it's a kind of a cute way of talking about let's rumble with vulnerability. Let's be willing to be uncomfortable. Let's be willing to have the conversations that make us squirm a little bit, right? I remember when I was working at Unity Village before I became ordained, and I was part of a planning committee for the Martin Luther King Day celebration. And it's kind of like in this movie I saw one time that was addressing civil rights and racism, and they were talking to a bunch of little kids that were like first and second graders, and they asked this one little boy, well, you know, what do you think about civil rights and bigotry and racism, you know? And he said, well, didn't Martin Luther King take care of all that, you know? So we're at this planning meeting and we're having a discussion, and one of the white people said, why do we have to keep talking about this? And then one of the black ladies said, well, we keep talking about it until it doesn't hurt to talk about it anymore. We keep talking about it because there are stories that still need to be told that not everybody has heard yet. So that's where I am this morning. Thinking about Father's Day, I'm thinking about my relationship with my father, I'm thinking about gay pride, and I think that it's my responsibility as not only a gay person, but as a leader of a spiritual community, that I speak out about what we stand for. And everybody is welcome here at Unity, no matter what your sexual orientation is, no matter what your skin tone is, no matter where you live, if you have a house, if you don't have a house, how much money you have, none of that matters, because everything that we teach and practice is based on our 5 principles. And our second principle says that we, all of us, everybody, is the Christ of God in expression. And so when we come together here in this building on Sunday morning, we look at each other as the same on the inside. Even though we might look different on the outside, we might act different, we might dress differently, but that isn't the case everywhere. And as long as there are little kids that are killing themselves because they're being bullied for who they are, then I have to talk about it.
That's right.
Right? As long as somebody is... So I don't want to get too heavy with this today, but I did want to share my story in the hopes that it would help somebody, because every time that I come to church on Sunday morning, I ask God to speak through me, to get me out of the way. I want to speak with God's mouth. I want to feel with God's heart. I want to see with God's eyes. I want to get Dale out of the way and let the Christ within me speak and act and feel and think, so that somebody might get a blessing this morning, that somebody's heart might be open, that somebody's mind might be clear. So I'm really grateful that I found Unity, because our organization as a whole doesn't have any problem with gay people at all. We've been ordaining gay people for years. And we have a whole page on the Unity Worldwide Ministries website that's dedicated to spiritual resources for LGBT people. And there it is, unity.org/LGBTQ. And one of the links in particular I want to draw your attention to is the Strong Family Alliance. So this isn't a Unity organization, but it's recommended is the word I'm looking for, by Unity. It's a place to go if someone in your family comes to you and says, I'm gay. Or, Mom, I know I look like a girl, but I'm a boy. This will help you, hopefully, lead you to some resources, help you deal with it. and we're here to help with that too. But I love this video that Unity Worldwide Ministries put together for Pride Month. Short and sweet. So I grew up in a really small town in Tennessee, and my dad was an outdoorsman, so he liked to go hunting and fishing, and he would take me fishing all the time. Ever since I can remember being a little boy, we were out on the water together, and this is his bolo that I'm wearing this morning. It's got a little fish on it. And so I had some really good times. And when I got older, we would go with a bunch of his buddies, and they'd be fishing and drinking beer, and and all of us boys would be there, you know, around the fire. And sometimes the men would go away and go hunting, and we'd be hanging out, just us, you know, in the woods, acting crazy. And just had a really great time. I have some really good memories of that. My parents got divorced when I was about 12, and I lived with my mom for a minute, but I didn't like it, so I moved back to my little town with my dad. And then this thing started happening that you might have heard of called puberty, and neither of us knew what to do. It was a really intense time, and I have some really unpleasant memories of that time period. What I realized through my healing process is that I chose at a certain period in my life to focus on all of the bad, or what I perceived to be bad. Jesus tells us, he says it in the Sermon on the Mount, in the book of Matthew, and also in the book of Luke, to keep your eyes single. I've been quoting this a lot recently, and to me, it means being clear about your intention, being focused on your intention on what you want. But also, it can mean, what I'm feeling this morning is in alignment with what Emma Curtis Hopkins teaches when she says, I don't believe in a mixture of good and evil. I see only the good. Jesus told us to don't judge by appearances, but look for the good. So, you know, last week I shared with you this practice I've been doing every morning on affirming that I am on friendly terms with everybody in my world, everyone in my universe. I'm on friendly terms. I'm friendly with everyone in every situation. Well, guess what? I get to see throughout the day all the ways that I'm not friendly. And then I'm promoting disharmony, that I'm doing it, right? So I have the choice to see with my single eye to look for the good. And I realized when I looked at my relationship with my dad that a lot of times I was focusing just on the things that were negative. And I wasn't looking for the good. Because it's good drama, right? It makes good stories to tell. If you'd have grown up like I did, you'd act the way I do too. I use it as an excuse for bad behavior. Hello? So my dad did the best he could with what he had available at the time, just like everybody else is doing, right? So when I started coming out, I had to get sober first. So I got sober when I was in my early 30s, and then I began to slowly come out. The first person that I really came out to, besides myself, was my sponsor, my AA sponsor. And so if any of y'all have been through the 12 steps, you know that at a certain point, you're invited to write down on a piece of paper everything you're afraid of, everybody that you hate, and every person that you've ever had sex with in your whole life. And then you're supposed to take that list and go to somebody else and tell them all about it. Oh, talk about being willing to rumble with vulnerability, to leaning into the uncomfortable places. But what a healing happened for me. This was the first person that ever said to me, that's okay. I told them the worst stuff about me that I thought in my mind was terrible. I'm never going to tell anybody this. If anyone knows this about me, they're not going to love me anymore. They're not going to want to hang around. And guess what? It made us closer. I remember when I first started talking to them about doing what they call the fifth step. It was like, I have to trust you more before I can tell you all this stuff. And he used his pet name for me, Dummy. What you don't understand is that's how you learn to trust. By opening up and being willing to share, being willing to show someone else who you are. Isn't it funny that the thing that we want the most is to be seen for who we really are, and that's the one thing that we're the most scared to do is show somebody who we really are, warts and all. So I go to this guy and I tell him everything about me that I think that I hate myself for, and he tells me it's going to be okay. I love you, and we're going to get through this together. He gave me the most priceless gift that anybody could ever give, was unconditional love. I always thought before that I had to be somebody that I wasn't in order to get the love. That you're not going to love me until I act like I think that you want me to. Like I can't be me and get love. I have to pretend to be somebody else. But what I've learned is I am love. As we do this work and we learn to be vulnerable and we learn to reach out and we learn to open ourselves up and show who we really are, then we make a bigger space for the love to come through us into the world. So I went to my dad as the last person to tell that I was gay because I knew how he was going to react. That it probably wasn't going to be pleasant for either of us. And I was right. And we ended up not speaking to each other for 5 years. 5 years I didn't talk to my dad. Now, I had a really good relationship with my grandfather, especially in high school. I would go and stay with my grandparents, my dad's parents. And I felt a lot of unconditional love from them. And I knew that I had a great relationship with my grandpa, even though I might not have had a good one with my dad. So when I thought about my son, Jason, I didn't want to ruin his relationship with his grandfather, my dad, just because we were having problems. So I would take him to visit my dad. We were living in Alabama. My dad's lived and died in the little town in Tennessee where he grew up. I would drive up there an hour and a half, drop Jason off in the front yard, have a good time, see you in a couple of days, and I would go stay in a hotel or go do whatever I was doing. And so I did this, every few months for 5 years. And once I started doing things like I would send my dad cards in the mail. Like I couldn't bring myself to call him on the phone, but I would send him a card, thinking of you, your son. Of course, I didn't write down what I was thinking. I sent a card. Just little things like that. Doing a lot of work with my sponsor, doing a lot of work with the people on my church on seeing things with the single eye and releasing all the things that are getting in the way of me expressing the love that I am. And so after about 5 years, one time, I was going to Chattanooga, to the Unity Church in Chattanooga, to do a talk or something. And I was going to drop Jason off on the way. And I thought, this is silly. I'm going to contact them. I sent an email to my stepmother, and I said, I want to bring Jason up on this weekend. And would it be okay would you please ask him if it's okay if I stay the night too? And she wrote me right back and said, come on. So that was the beginning of our healing and renewing our relationship. Now, there were just things that we didn't talk about when we got together because I knew what would happen. And if he brought things up, I learned how to gently redirect the conversation in other ways. And it's not because I was hiding or afraid of confrontation. It's because it didn't serve our relationship. And it wasn't building the love, I had enough walls between me and him. I didn't want to put any more bricks in that wall. And what I realized was I had a part in this, just like he did. I couldn't put it all on him. I had to do my work and leave him and love him just the way he was. I wanted him to love me unconditionally. I had to learn how to love him unconditionally. No matter what he said or thought or how he acted, this is my dad. I can only be around him for so long. And I've got to love him the way that I say that I want to be loved. If I want to receive unconditional love, I've got to learn to love unconditionally. And just because you don't always reap where you sow. Just because I love him unconditionally doesn't mean that he's going to love me back unconditionally. And that's okay because I put it out. I'm going to get it somewhere because that's spiritual law. That's the way the universe works. Whatever you put out, you're going to get back. But you don't always get it from the field that you sowed it in. Sometimes it comes from unexpected places. Because we're surrounded by good all the time. Our good is unexpected at times. But really, we've been working on sowing those seeds all the time. What I realized was I was trying to make him different so I would feel okay about me. And what I had to learn to do was to change me so that I felt okay about me no matter what anybody else thought, right? It's a lot of work. And it's uncomfortable at times. But the payoff is worth it. Because when my dad passed a couple of years ago, I was the person in the room holding his hand. I got to be there with him when he made his transition into the next world. And when I went up to Tennessee to the hospital room that he was in, when I walked in the room, I knew this is the time. This is the moment. There had been other times when I would go to visit and I would leave and I would think, well, am I going to see him again? Is something going to happen between now and the next visit? But when I went this time, I knew this is it. And he wasn't even able to speak to me, but he could look at me. I could look in his eyes and I could tell he was understanding what I was saying to him. And they had told me, he's waiting on you. He's waiting on you to get there. What? Okay, here's the guy we didn't talk to for 5 years, and now he wants to see me one more time before he leaves the planet. Well, I want to see him too. So I go up there, and I spent a night and a day with him, and I held his hand, and I told him, you know what? You were a good father, and I love you. And I meant it. It took a lot of work to get to the point where I could look at him and say that I really meant that. And I really did. And what a blessing to be there to help him on his way and to help ease his mind to know that there wasn't anything between us. That everything was okay. I kept telling him that. You were a good father. I'm okay. Go ahead. We're good. I love you. God's waiting on you. So, I want to finish with a quotation from Emily Cady. Emily Cady was a New Thought teacher. She taught Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who were the co-founders of the Unity Movement. And this book that she's written called Lessons in Truth started as a correspondence course that the Fillmores asked her to mail out to their students. It's 12 different chapters or lessons, and they put it all together in a book called Lessons in Truth. So what she's talking about here is that God is principle, God is law, God is substance, our first principle, but God is also personal within each one of us. And no matter what your relationship with your biological father is, that you have a father inside of you. You have a father, mother, God inside of you that loves you unconditionally and goes with you everywhere you go. So these are her words from Lessons in Truth. And this chapter is called Bondage or Liberty, which? There's no necessity for us to separate God as substance and God as tender Father. No reason why we should not, and every reason why we should have both in one. They are one. God, principle, outside of us is unchangeable law. God within us is a tender, loving Father Savior who sympathizes with our every sorrow and knoweth our frame and remembereth we are but dust. I do not at all understand it, but in some way this indwelling one does move to lift the consciousness of his children up and place it parallel with God, principle, and law, so that no longer two are crossed, but the two, even the three, human consciousness, the indwelling personal Father, the eternal principle God, are made one. So here she's describing metaphysically the Trinity. Human consciousness, the indwelling Father, and the external principle are all one. God is principle, but God is person also. Principle becomes personified the moment it comes to dwell in eternal manifestation in a human body. So bondage or liberty, which? Let's take that into prayer. I invite you to breathe deeply and fully and to relax into this moment and to allow whatever thoughts or feelings are coming up for you this morning to just be present with them, to not try to run away from your inner dialogue, from your inner space, but just be present to whatever is showing itself this morning. It's all good, it's all God, and everything is for your healing and for your transformation. So we give thanks for the blessing that we are. We give thanks for the blessing of the fathers, the father figures in our lives. And we give thanks that we can be that, whether we're male or female in our bodies, that we can exude this father, protector, savior figure. We can be that for other people. For we are all one heart, one mind, one body of Christ. And we are all good. And we are all worthy and deserving of dignity and respect and love. Unconditional love. So feel unconditional love flowing through you now. Lifting you up to the level of consciousness that was demonstrated by Jesus the Christ. And all those way showers and elder brothers, all our teachers that have come to show us the way to truth. We are thankful, we are grateful, and we release our prayer now on the wings of love and allow it to do its perfect work according to God's divine law. And because we allow it to be so, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
1, 2, 3, 4. We are all one human family. 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 different preachers, soul to soul and heart to heart. Just a little bit. Soul to soul and heart to heart. I can't tell us apart. Soul to soul and heart to heart. I can't tell us apart. We are all one human family. 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 But we are all the same. A name is just a name. Soul to whole and heart to heart. We went to different schools, but our mamas didn't raise no fools. Soul to soul and heart to heart. Soul to soul and heart to heart. I can't tell us apart. Soul to soul and heart to heart. I can't tell us apart. We are all one human family. 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 Soul to soul and heart to heart. I can't tell us apart. Soul to soul and heart to heart. I can't tell us apart. We are all one human family. 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 We are all one human family.
Georgia Kyle, y'all. Miss Blessy on the organ. We got Rochelle Coatney on the drums. And we have a special guest, Kenny from New Orleans on the bass. Ken Murphy. So we're glad everybody's here this morning. And if you like that, we're going to do a Blues Sunday on July 21st featuring Georgia Kyle. So y'all come on down for that. And I'd also like you to check out Unity's statement of diversity. And it's on the website that Rachel showed you, unity.org/LGBTQ. You can download it there. Or if you go to our website, we have a rotating banner on the homepage. And the second banner says a little something about our diversity statement. You can click on that and download it. And it's a statement of diversity from the leaders of the Unity movement that we're committed to respect and dignity because all people have sacred worth. Yes? Tell somebody, you have sacred worth. So we have 5 basic principles that we teach and practice at Unity, and let's review those together. Our first principle: there is one power, one presence in our lives and in the universe, God the good. I'm working Rachel overtime today back there. Our second principle, y'all know it. We are the Christ of God in expression. Tell somebody, you are the Christ of God in expression. Our third principle we call the law of mind action. What you see is what you get. Put it together. Thoughts plus feelings equals outcome. Our fourth principle reminds us what? There's power in affirmative prayer and meditation. And number 5, we must live the truth we know. So practice your meditation every day. Who's meditating every day? Come on, let me see your hands. Who wants to meditate every day? You can do it. You can do it. Just sit down for 5 minutes every day and listen. So we like to give the opportunity for people to give back to the community. If you feel that you're blessed and you brought a little money with you, you want to share it with us this morning, the ushers are going to be coming around. So I invite you to just remember this, that your presence is the best present that you could give anybody. We're just so grateful that you're here this morning. Thank you for spending your Sunday with us. I know there's plenty of things you could be doing this morning, like sleeping in, going to the beach, riding your kayak. So thank you for coming in and praying with me today.
I am thankful, so grateful in this moment right now. I am thankful, so grateful right here, right now. I am thankful, so grateful.
opportunity to receive. And because we know that it all comes from our Father, we say thank you, Father. We bless you, Father. We appreciate you, Father. So it is, and we let it be. And with that, we say our offertory blessing together.
Divine love and me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful. So it is. Amen. Right now, I am thankful, so grateful in this moment right now. I am thankful, so grateful right here, right now. So we are thankful for our Uni-Kids. Let's welcome the children
This
in.
little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
We have a special blessing for our children together. God loves you and accepts you just the way you are. And I love you and accept you just the way you are. I see the Christ in you. And now we receive their blessing.
God loves you and accepts you just the way you are. And I love you and accept you just the way you are. I see the Christ in you.
Thank you. So I want to remind you that next Sunday starts our Summer of Prosperity. Who's in? Who's in? All right. And we're going to have Beatles Sunday, Beatles music with Rebecca Flaherty, and Kathy Walford is going to share with you how unity principles have helped her to prosper. So you don't want to miss that. Please come and support everybody. So let's stand now and join in our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Let there be peace on earth and let it be with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace it was meant to be. With earth as our mother, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Begin with me, let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is